everybody. This is your girl, Temeka.
It's your boy, E-Rock now.
And listen, we've been married for 23 years.
23, working on 24. Pray for us, though.
You know what? We keep it real.
We keep it raw.
And we keep it uncut.
All day.
And so this is
Marriage Takeover.
Listen, guys, we are so excited. We are in a new season.
It's a new season. It's a new day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anointing.
Come, you ain't got to overdo me like that.
We're not doing that. So no. So we are new season, first month of September, the September brand new, and we're excited about it.
It's the fall, NFL, college football. We're back at it.
I know. We got football season. We got the kids going back to school season.
Oh, man. Lord.
We have all kinds of stuff going on. And so
in COVID.
Right. And then we also have, it's also National Suicide Awareness Month.
Yes.
And so we wanted to do some things just because it's a new season.
It's a new season.
We're trying to level up here at Marriage Takeover.
We're leveling up, yo. We're leveling up.
To do something a little different than what we've normally done in the past. And so we are bringing on an expert for today's session for us to really talk about suicide awareness, depression, mental illness, and what we can do to help our loved ones in this time.
And also being able to see what those signs are, because we recognize that going through COVID, that there was so much that was going on that, COVID kind of exposed that was going on within marriages, and it was just like a shock to us.
Marriages, families,
and it's like pretty much everybody. A whole nine. And it's like because you had the loss of loved ones, and then it was so much that the family and marriages kind of took on something new and didn't know how to handle it. And so as me and wife was sitting back and looking like, wow, what can we do to help people to understand or recognize those signs? Because, like how you had lost a loved one during this time. And so it was like, wow. So it was like, I had to sit back and I need to pay attention to what's going on, right? Because you want to be able to catch those earlier signs. And so we're grateful to have great friends that are well versed in areas like that.
And who are experts. So today we have joining us Diane Jones, who is a licensed therapist. She is also the owner and the founder of the Lotus Wellness Group. And we're going to be talking about mental health today and mental wellness. So welcome, Miss Diane Jones. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
We are so happy to have you.
Welcome.
We are so happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
So September is National Suicide Awareness Month, right? And so we wanted to open up the floor to an expert just to kind of tell us, how we can affect change. There was so much that took place, like Eric mentioned last year with the pandemic, and we really still are in a pandemic. And although we were in a pandemic last year and many lives were lost, there were still, due to, COVID-19 and the coronavirus, there were still 44,834 suicides. And I was taken aback by that because we lost so many people just from the coronavirus and the pandemic.
Right.
So on top of that, we still lost 44,834 people due to suicide. So, what should we know about suicide and mental health? What should we know so that we can be aware of signs?
I think first of all, your opening is great. I love the energy. I was so excited just watching. So the thing is, I think you all hit it on the nose, though. COVID has been the perfect storm to bring up for people with mental illness because it has all the elements. It has the isolation. It has the sitting with yourself, like you said, where you didn't have to before. You had work as a distraction, but now you're sitting with yourself or your loved ones or wherever the issue is. And so it all you had no choice but to deal with whatever was going on that you had been running from. So COVID has been the perfect storm for that.
Wow.
According to the national suicide people, every 11 minutes, somebody is taking their lives by suicide. So
wow.
Even in the time we'll be together today, there may be 2 suicides that happen. So it's a serious thing that happens. But I think some of the things that we look at, we know already, we just don't know is that. The first thing I want to say, though, is don't be afraid to ask the question to your loved one. Are you thinking about harming yourself? We're afraid that we think if we say the word suicide, we're going to somehow suggest it. No, they need an avenue to talk about it. People are afraid to talk about it because we think we're going to somehow encourage it. So don't be afraid to ask the question. If you start seeing changes in someone's patterns, someone who has become more and more increasingly isolated, they have a sadness that they can't shake, that's been going on for more than a couple of weeks. If you notice that they're having no interest in things they used to find interest in. The everyday things, their friends, like they don't want to talk, they don't want to do things they used to have interest in, they no longer have an interest in. They're some of the signs also could be overeating or undereating. Look out for somebody who starts to sell all their things.
Overeating, undereating, okay.
Am I going too fast?
Oh wow.
No.
I'm just. This is like.
I would have never thought about looking for somebody who's looking to sell all their things, because I guess if they're selling all their things, they're really like giving away, right? Giving up on life.
No, I mean, it's just like now it's causing me to look at it different, because I'm like, oh, maybe just trying to make room, you know what I mean? But not like, oh wow, that's funny.
They get ready to take a trip.
Wow.
They get ready to take a trip, and so they could be, and watch it closely if it's right after a period of sadness. So all of a sudden you're sad for weeks, and now you're upselling everything, getting rid of everything, because you've already decided now I'm gonna take my life, and so I don't need any of these things anymore. And so be careful for that. If there's no other reason, like you're not moving, nothing's changing in your life, all of a sudden you don't need any of your stuff, that might be something to look at further.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Now I saw this weekend, I was reading something that was so alarming that I never thought about before. Of those suicides, I'm gonna need you to put that on me.
I'm trying. Okay.
So I read something this weekend that was so alarming that I never thought of before. That
all the time. I'm always in trouble.
So that men have a higher percentage rate in suicides than women. And I never knew that before. So what should we look for in our spouses, particularly our husbands, or even our children, and not just even our loved ones? Because I know that men sometimes, especially in the marriage, they carry, the weight of the world on their shoulders. They have the family, they have the bills, they have, all these different things that they're racking and stacking on their shoulders. So as a wife, number one,
and don't nobody hear or understand our cry.
Yeah.
And sometimes we isolate ourselves.
But sometimes the men don't want to even be vulnerable enough, because they feel like they have to hold up this facade of I am man, hear me roar.
But that's not always the case, because sometimes the wife don't create that environment. Go ahead.
Well, that could be a whole nother show.
Diane?
That could be a whole nother show. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think a couple of things. As a society, we have failed miserably in teaching young boys how to attach words with their feelings. And so they become then men who don't have words for their feelings. And so, yes, Eric, they may be crying, but they're crying in the dark. Right? And so
nobody can see.
Nobody sees it, and we don't know it. And so we haven't, as a society, created a space for it to be okay for a man to cry or even talk about his feelings. And if he wants to talk about it, he doesn't have the words. Before, when you all maybe were dating, because I know it doesn't happen now, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you have a conflict, and the woman is there ready to talk. Let's talk it through. And the guy was like, give me a minute. I'm going to get back to you in a couple of days. What? I want to argue now. They don't have the words yet.
Right?
They have to go figure out, get their words together. So one, they have not been equipped with the words. And two, I think Eric hit it on the nose too, is that they carry the weight of the world, right? Even just with expectations that men have. Look at the list that you just ran on, and who do they talk to? So there's some men's groups that allow that space, but not enough. And so men definitely are higher at suicide rates because of that. Nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. And the other key thing I wanted to say in the beginning is that when someone gets to suicide as an option, it's not because they want to die. It's because they don't see another way out. It's a way to stop the pain, not to die. People don't usually want to die. They just want the pain to stop. And so they see that as an option, along with other things. Not necessarily looking forward to want to die. They don't usually want to die. Just want the pain to stop.
Wow. I never thought about that before. Wow.
Wow.
So
do you have room on your calendar?
So how can we help? Like, I know during the pandemic, so I'm a 9/11 survivor. I was actually in the Pentagon during 9/11. And
wow.
I realized after being in the Pentagon and after the whole ordeal took place, I realized that something about me mentally was changing, but I didn't know what was changing, how it was changing, or even what to do about the change, just because I grew up in a culture where, you know, you keep moving. Whatever happens, whatever goes on, you keep moving. You don't slow down, because if you slow down, you stop working, bills don't get paid. So for me, there's something different, but I have to keep moving. So that was last year during the pandemic, was I think the worst of the worst that I had ever experienced. Because like you mentioned, the isolation and, you know, you're by yourself, and my family was amazing, but mentally I had these things going on. And then there was also the racial, you know, social environment taking place, and we didn't know if it was about to be the apocalypse or no, what the purge, or you know what was going on. So I think the anxiety with that, with the anxiety with all of that, I was trying to process it and didn't know how to process that. And I knew that I had PTSD myself, and I had just about all the signs. And I think Eric knew that I had it before I even knew.
She didn't want to receive it, so I didn't want to call it on.
And I didn't want to say or even see a specialist. It took me 20 years, Diane, to see a specialist, to even be diagnosed with PTSD, because I didn't want the negative connotation, the stigma that came with it. But later, I got to a point during the pandemic that I said, I need help. And a lot of people may not get to that point. So how do we help those who really need the help, but they don't know how to get the help, or they don't know how to cry out?
I think you hit on several great points. And one is we have to get rid of this stigma in our community about mental health and what it means to see somebody. And that keeps a lot of people from help. But like you, last year, the perfect storm with COVID, with the depression, anxiety, losing people, the grief, the stress of like, am I going to die? Am I going to catch COVID and die too? Like all those triggers cause people to reach out for help. And so most therapists that I know were overwhelmed last year with people reaching out and calling for help, because people just got to a breaking point. But we shouldn't have to go that long and suffer that long by ourselves before we reach out for help. But if you see a loved one who, most of us are living with PTSD, just from things we experience in our life, in our communities. We don't call it that, we don't name it, but we have all the symptoms and we're living with it. But encourage your loved one to get help. Like you're not crazy if you get help, but eventually things may happen if you don't get help. And so we want to prevent it and just present it as having a conversation with somebody. We can't continue to be our loved one's therapists and psychologists. There are people who are trained to do that. You're not going to be able to carry that load. It's not something you're trained to do. So you really want to send people. If something is hurting, you go to the doctor. Like if something is going on in your mind, go to the people who are trained to deal with your mind. We created this whole stigma around it when it doesn't have to be. Right? And so, but finding somebody that looks like you is important. And somebody you can relate with is important. And so encourage people to get help, seek out sources. There's lots of sources now. There's some were just created since last year, since COVID, because of the onslaught of people who are reaching out for help. And I was so glad there was so many young people in their 20s, early 20s, reaching out for help, because it's like, I cannot deal with this anxiety. And so I was so excited about that. But we have to get people help early when we start to see signs that something is different in them. Something happened in them. Something happened to them. And they may not have dealt with it before, but you'll see the signs, but you have to pay attention to the signs too. And want to have those conversations. A lot of times they don't ask the question because we don't want to have the hard conversations either, right? Or we don't feel equipped that we can handle the conversation, but you can. And if you can't, take it as far as you can take it, but start the conversation and then say, I think you need to talk. Let's get you to talk to somebody else. I think there's somebody else who can help you better than I can. I don't have the tools to help you. Because a lot of people didn't make it last year in their marriages because they didn't have the tools to communicate. Because they didn't have to. They were going to work, they were passing the night. So just a little bit of time after work and going to bed, they could handle that conversation. But we home all day together, 8 hours now working. We didn't have the tools to communicate. So a lot of people didn't make it out of last year as far as marriages go. They didn't make it.
Wow. That's true though.
Right. There's a lot of divorce.
It was so bad. We saw that attorneys were doing essays to give out free divorces in New York or in Connecticut. Like it was, I was like, what is going on? It was so bad.
It's a sad state of
we
affairs.
tried to, from our different solutions and different things. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it really is. Now, what can we notice? Because I know that depression and with our spouses, that's one of the leading causes of, suicide or even just that change. So as we are now saying that we can ask the question, right? Just have a conversation. What are some of the ways when we're ready to reach out? How do you find a good therapist? Because I'll tell you, just having charted that journey last year, I no longer see my therapist. She's a great woman, but I think that I've outgrown where we started. And the challenge I've heard from so many people is that it's so hard to find a good therapist. And it took me almost 3 months when I was ready. It took me almost 3 months just to reach out to find the one.
Well, I can tell you right now, I know one that you can reach out to, which is Diane Jones. You can reach out to her at the website.
Wait a second, sweetheart. Let her answer the question first.
Okay. Sorry, let her have my bad. I know a good one. I'm talking to him right now. Praise Lord.
If you're looking for somebody to do your marketing.
Right.
But Temeka,
so what are some?
That's a good question. The one too about it's very hard to find a good therapist because you're looking for a relationship, you're looking for a connection. You're going to be the most vulnerable with this person that you're going to tell things to that you don't tell anybody else, or you haven't told anybody else. They're going to see all the parts of you that we hide or cover up or dress up. So making that connection with somebody, you got to test some people out. You got to spend some time talking, seeing if this is a good fit for you. One sign I want people to know, though, that this is not the right fit for you. If you feel like this is somebody you cannot tell them the truth to. If you feel embarrassed, like you can't tell them the truth, change therapy. Because you should not care what your therapist thinks about you. Right?
You shouldn't.
You should not care what your therapist thinks. So that is so good.
Wow.
And it lets me know that I made the right decision.
Yes. Because
that's so good.
Wow.
You have to feel that.
About what you're there.
Wow.
You cannot, because then you're not going to be honest. Then what's the point of the exchange if you can't be honest? You're not going to get the help. You're not going to get the help you need. You're not going to get the help you need. There's a couple of sites that I can give you, people that they can go to, cliniciansofcolor.com, therapyforblackgirls.com, Psychology Today, and I can give you some more, but those are a couple, those are go-tos. And
we'll put them in the show notes as well, for the viewers as well.
But it's not easy, and we should
see that in the show notes.
Wow. You
should take your time finding a therapist and doing that search, because it's a relationship that you want to be able to be honest with. It's just like finding a partner that you want to make sure it's the right fit. And just not assume because they're a therapist and they've done some work in trauma, that's going to be a fit for you. And is this person, can they relate to the culture that you grew up in? Can they relate to you, period? And so that's important. And everybody who has the same skin color to you doesn't mean they relate or have the same experiences either. Because you
that's true. Wow. That's true.
So you really want to.
I'll tell you. Wow. I knew when I picked the right one, because I'm trying to tell you, I knew when I picked the right one. Y'all want to know who my therapist is? There she is. Hi.
That is funny. So, no, thank you so much. I want to also open the floor up to you because, again, you are a licensed therapist, and I want to make sure that we honor you in this space. Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
For the people, thank you for about what you're doing now with the Lotus Wellness Group and what you have coming forward. We're going to show the website as well as you are telling us what you're doing in that space.
Okay. So currently, as Eric mentioned, I have a private practice. I recently hired someone to do individual sessions, but I will tell you, since last year, because I got so overwhelmed with so many people and my own stress and anxiety of sitting in the trauma of COVID, that I just was no longer to take anybody else. I'm full. So I'm not taking anybody else right now for individual sessions. However, what I am moving towards doing some empowerment groups.
Because she's full, she's doing good.
We're doing some empowerment groups with women around I think another thing that happened last year too is that people realize I'm not that happy. I'm not that happy with my life. Like I have no joy in my life.
Right.
Like all those things came forward, like that we just kept moving every day. Like Temeka said, like as African American women, we've been taught we don't have the luxury of a nervous breakdown. You got to keep going. Like the kids need to be fed. Somebody got to get to work. It's like you got to keep making money. So we don't have our mindset is that we don't have time for a breakdown.
Right.
And so COVID allowed us to be able to sit still, even though we were working from home.
True, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And so that's the difference in why the numbers are not so low, but lower for women in suicide, because we've been taught we got to keep going. So there's that, which also has its own detriment. So I want to give women an opportunity to talk about when's the last time you had joy in life? Do you even know what that looks like? Do you even know what makes you happy anymore? Because we've become so lost in our everyday life and world that we lose ourselves and we have lost ourselves. So doing some groups on that, and then also doing some women's retreats in Mexico, as well as some couples retreats. So that's what's coming up. Yeah.
In Mexico? Watch out now. I might put a wig on and slide down there myself.
You will not. That is not what Brenda wanted.
So,
right? No, but we absolutely should. And I know we were talking too as well, but we will absolutely make sure that we're connecting with you as well for a marriage retreat out in Mexico, because I know you just did that move, and I'm excited about what you're doing.
Yes.
And how can people find you? If they want to know more about you, if they want to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
So I have a YouTube page that I have been documenting this journey. And it's also at this point under my name, still the Lotus Wellness Group. So that's the YouTube name. And then other than that, they can just go to thelotuswellnessgroup.com. And I have a contact page on the website. And they can email me and I will definitely get back to them.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, well,
Go ahead. I will give you my 800 number also that we can put in the notes too. People can reach out to me that way too.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
So my homegirl Diane, if you can just give us a quick recap of the things that we need to look for in our mate, our spouse, and our mate.
Yeah. So first thing is someone who's talking about wanting to die. They have also a fascination with wanting to die. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Always talking about I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. Look for those little word cues too. Wow. They've lost interest in things that they used to find interest in. Their daily activities, things that they used to find they love to do, they no longer want to do, have interest in, have been more prone to isolation. They don't want to talk. They don't want to be around people. They've lost interest in their appearance. They don't care how they look. They may not take a bath or shower for a couple of days. They may overeat or undereat. They just seem like they're in a state of despair. There's a sadness that they can't shake, and it's lasting longer than usual. Someone who is at high risk is someone who's also tried suicide before. They're at high risk. You want to keep an eye on them. Somebody who's just had a recent traumatic event. And someone who starts making preparations like they're going on a trip and they're not going anywhere. They start selling their things. They start getting rid of everything. Just no longer have any use for any earthly goods. So stop paying attention to some of those things. And also someone who's showing some harmful behavior. They become real reckless all of a sudden in their life. taking risks. Look out for that. So that's a quick recap.
As you were sitting here recapping, what was that, June, July? Yeah, because I think we had a big misunderstanding, I want to say.
We had an argument.
And I jumped on my motorcycle. I hit, and I know I hit by 200, and I didn't care what would happen. I thought to myself as I was getting it, I thought to myself, okay, my insurance is paid up. Because I'm not going to take myself out, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have to be done by way of accidents. And it was,
reckless. It was reckless.
It was because granted, don't get me wrong. Have I done that? Have I went that fast on my bike before? I have, but it was more in a controlled environment versus what I did.
Versus you being angry. It was more of
because my mind wasn't clear. Because normally when you get on a motorcycle, it's in the class. Your mind needs to be clear. My mind was clear. When I tell you, when I say I was, and it didn't matter. It
exactly
matter for a car pulled out in front of me. It was like the environment for me to express myself wasn't there. And the only thing I was so angry to where I jumped on my bike and when I took off. I know I went over 180 because the last second that I had looked down, my speedometer wasn't moving anymore because it had reached its max. And so, and I was just, and I was still, and here I am, I'm going this fast, and I still remember thinking, okay, insurance is paid up. If anything jump out, I'm good. Lord, am I good? Am I ready to go home? I'm so serious. And it was just like all of a sudden, and I was just like, wow. So when you was going through that recap, I was like, oh my God. So that is what that looks like. Cause I was like,
right.
It was crazy. I think I might have been out for an hour, 3 hours. It was crazy. And even that night, I'm still surprised how reckless I was riding. I'm still surprised I still made it home.
Exactly.
It was wow. I think I see Diane tells you I gotta set another appointment.
I keep trying to tell y'all, marriage takeover is not perfect. We all deal with our life situations, and I think that's the reason for the platform.
Exactly.
Because we want to make sure that we're transparent. We want to make sure we're helping other couples. Wow. And so as a result, we have to help ourselves first in order to help other couples. So absolutely. Diane, you have been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having this platform.
Ever since I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem at all. You are always welcome.
Always.
You ever want, to come on and say something to the people, and it will also make sure that your YouTube and your website are also in the show notes so people know how to reach out to you. Yes. So again, thank you so much. We absolutely appreciate you, and we want to honor your, because I know we did say that we were going to be here for a little bit of time, but we will be back in contact with you.
Most definitely.
Have you back on the show in the future because we really do appreciate your expertise.
Man, this is important. Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't set my appointment. See, I took the last spot, so y'all gonna have to wait till the room to come around.
But Temeka, one thing I want to say is that the beauty of what you all are doing is you don't have to fix yourselves first. While you're going, what you're going through, people are also learning from you and how you're working with it. So it's not a fix first thing; it's a constant. And so you're in this position because people need to see you doing it in process. So you're right where you need to be. You're right where you need to be, and I really appreciate you all for the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that is so encouraging. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
So we thank you again one more time. Hey, this is our great friend that is so awesome in what she do. Diane Jones. Please look her up, www.thelotuswellnessgroup.com. All of the information is on there. The number, contact us, see what she follow her on YouTube.
Yes.
Because when I say for me personally is that when I say she's a good one, she's a good one. I know, not a good one. She's a great one. So, yes. I mean, God has really blessed her with her skill set to help you. Because just like you heard her say, during COVID, it was like so many was coming. So she knew in order to give you the best, you know what I'm saying, she still had to make sure, okay, all right, for one-on-ones, we're good now. We're overwhelming. But for someone to still, that lets you know they're not looking at what's coming in, right, but how are you being transformed and dealing with your mental state. And that's why I love her so much, because she's great at what she do. So I enjoy so much for this time. We thank you for setting aside this time to come, yes, and be with us, and and to also and helping us to help marriages and let them know that this is real. Forget about what they said in the days of old, and if you need help mentally, go. You have, just as you have your kneecap, your high blood pressure, your diabetes, you have doctors, licensed therapists that can help you also with your mind, with your mind health. And so we're so grateful for you coming on, especially in this month with it being a Suicide Awareness Month. So this has been phenomenal. It's just I'm so much, I'm just like, whoa! Now I'm looking at everybody now. What you doing? I gotta look at myself. Right. Hey, you better not talk about that bike doing that no more. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so don't be afraid to ask the question or to have the conversation.
Yes.
This is Marriage Takeover. I'm your girl, and Marriage Takeover